Did you know that 70% of adults report feeling misunderstood by their parents at some point within their childhood? That's right. Something like 2/3 of us are carrying invisible scars from our emotionally immature parents. And most of us don't even realize it until it starts to show up within our own relationships, self-worth, or our everyday lives. Stick around because today we're going to dive into what that really means and how we all can start to heal from this. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Wellness from Scratch. My name is Marissa Jackson, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. Today's episode is one that hits so close to home for so many of us, and that is overcoming the emotional challenges from being raised by emotionally immature parents. If you've ever felt like you've parented your parents, like your feelings have been dismissed, or like you've been chasing this approval that never really comes, well, this episode is for you. In this episode, I'm going to explore what emotional immaturity looks like, how it can shape our minds after we've left our parents, and most importantly, how we can break free and heal. Whether you're nodding along already or just curious, I can promise you, you're gonna walk away with something real from this video today. Maybe even a little hope. So let's get started. What exactly is an emotionally immature parent, and why does that matter? Let's find out. Let's start by uncovering a myth that's been held over our heads for way too long. The idea of the perfect parent. You know the one. Selfless, endlessly patient, always knowing exactly what to say. It is a picture that we have been sold over and over again. And I think it's time for a reality check, because the truth is, the ideal parent doesn't exist, because we're all human, and expecting them to be perfect and always knowing what to say is gonna set you up for a world of hurt. I mean, think about it. From classic shows like The Brady Bunch, where every problem wraps up neatly within 30 minutes, to Instagram posts of those moms baking organic cookies for their angelic children. We are constantly bombarded with images of parental perfection. Society tells us that good parents don't yell, don't have bad days, and it's a standard that's so high it's practically superhuman. Real life is messy, and parents are people too. Flawed, stressed, figuring it out as we go along, and also experiencing life for the first time. It's not that our parents are falling short. It is that we have been trained to expect a fantasy. Like how romantic comedies make an unrealistic idea of what love is. And those expectations really affect us as parents. When your parent doesn't match the ideal, maybe they're emotionally immature, quick to snap, or just don't really get the whole nurturing thing. It hurts us. I can personally identify with that pain. You might feel disappointed, like you've been cheated out of something, or wondering why they can't just be the supportive, loving parent you see in the movies. Psychologists call this the comparison trap. When we measure reality against idealized benchmarks, we're left feeling let down. For those of us with an emotionally immature parent, or even parents, that gap can feel even wider. You wanted Carol Brady, but you got someone who wasn't able to handle their own emotions, let alone being able to handle yours. And I need to be clear that that is not your fault, but it still shapes how you see them. Here is where the healing starts, though. It's being able to accept the imperfections. Every person has their own mix of strengths and weaknesses. Maybe your mom wasn't able to listen to you without making it entirely about her, but she would always show up when you were sick. or if your dad would shut down if you tried to talk to him in any way about your feelings or something serious. But he taught you how to stand up for yourself. They're not perfect and they don't have to be. Letting go of the idea of the perfect parent doesn't mean that we have to excuse the hard stuff. It just means seeing them as human and not just a checklist that failed. Let me be clear that this shift is not easy. We're hardwired to want flawless caregiving. It's why those media tropes stick so deeply. When we cling to those unrealistic ideals, we miss the bigger picture. Your parents' emotional immaturity might have left scars, and we will get to that later, but it is not because they did not live up to some hallmark standard. It's because they're imperfect, just like you and me. And embracing that imperfection, that is true freedom. It takes the pressure off of them and you to rewrite history into something it was never going to be. So as we kick off this guide, let's leave that perfect parent myth behind us. No more comparing your parents to a script they were never given. Instead, we are going to look at who they truly are, flaws and all. Emotional immaturity in parents can come in a variety of different ways and often will leave lasting effects on the children within the home. These are the parents who might struggle to regulate their emotions, who react instead of respond. They may become overwhelmed easily, lash out, shut down, or make everything about themselves when it's supposed to be about the child. Instead of providing steady emotional support, they might expect their child to comfort them or lean on their child in inappropriate ways for emotional validation. You might have heard them say things like, "After all I've done for you, you make me feel like a bad parent," whenever you try to express your needs or emotions. That is a classic sign that many people in my generation are experiencing. These parents often lack empathy, or they might flip the script to center their own perspective. They might struggle to apologize sincerely or even be able to admit that they were wrong. They can be loving one minute and then cold and distant the next. This instability can make a child feel like they have to walk on eggshells in their own home. I felt like that for many years of my childhood. Or they might become hyper aware of everyone's emotions to stay safe, which is something I also did and work really hard today to stop doing. But I can't help it. Sometimes I still am very hyper aware of everything around me. And the hard part is that emotional immaturity doesn't always equal abuse. Sometimes it just means that your emotional needs were constantly undermet and dismissed. But those patterns can still shape your self-worth, your sense of safety, and your adult relationships in deep ways. So now we've talked about what emotional immaturity looks like in parents. Maybe they've been reactive, dismissive, or just couldn't meet you where you needed them to. But here is where the real shift starts. Embracing your parent humanness. And that is embracing the fact that your parents are people. This isn't about excusing their behavior or pretending it didn't happen. It's about seeing them for who they are and not just who you needed them to be. Let's break this down into 3 main ideas that can help us change the way that we carry this baggage. First up, the reality of parents. Our parents are not superheroes, even if we've spent our entire childhood wishing they were. They are people, flawed and complex, and shaped by their own stories. Maybe your mom grew up with a parent who never said, "I love you," so she never knew how to say it to you. Maybe your dad was buried under the pain of his own anxiety and trauma, and that left him checked out when you needed him the most. Psychologist Lindsay C. Gibson, in her book, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, points out that oftentimes many of these parents were simply doing the best they could with the tools that they had, which honestly were not always enough. Recognizing this does not erase the pain, but it does give us the lens to be able to see them as humans stumbling through life, kind of like all of us. Their limitations are not a rejection of you. They were a reflection of their own battles. When we understand this, it's like taking off a warped pair of glasses. We can begin to see clearly, and we start to see the bigger picture. And that brings us to letting go of the resentment. I know, that's a tough one, right? I have said this before, but carrying resentment is like carrying a backpack full of bricks. It begins to weigh you down, and it's so heavy, and it affects everything in your entire life. Holding grudges only affects you. And shifting our focus does not mean denying what happened. It just means zooming in on whatever went right, however small it might be. Dr. Joshua Coleman, a family therapist and author, he talks about how holding on to anger keeps us stuck in a victim mindset, while letting go, even if just a little bit, can free us to rewrite our own story. Appreciating their efforts doesn't mean approving their failures. It is about reclaiming your peace. Ask yourself this: what is one good thing they did that I can hold on to? Let me know down in the comments below. It is not about them deserving it. It is about you deserving to let this weight go. And finally, the value of honest communication. And this one is a game changer if it's possible for you in the situation. I know not all situations warrant that. Opening up a dialogue with our parent about what we needed back then and what we need now can honestly feel like stepping into a minefield. I personally know that feeling. It doesn't have to be a fight. And I know what you're thinking, Marissa, you do not know my parents. But hear me out. Start small, very small, microscopic. If you're feeling courageous, you could say something like, hey, I've been thinking about how we connect. I would love to share what's on my mind. It's not about blaming them. It's about saying, this is who I am, and this is what I need. Some parents might even surprise you, and others might not be prepared mentally for this kind of conversation. But that doesn't matter, because either way, you are taking your power back by doing this, by speaking your truth. Gibson's work also reminds us that emotionally immature parents often do not even see or recognize the impact that their actions have on the people around them. In other words, they don't have awareness. They're not aware of the impact they have on the people around them. Gibson's work also reminds us that emotionally immature parents oftentimes do not see how their actions affect the people around them unless we show them. So this is your chance to draw the line with love and clarity, because that is a reflection of who you are. Embracing the fact that they're people just means meeting them where they are, not where we wish they would be. It's messy, it's real, and it is the first step towards healing. Not just for them, but for us too. Now that we've unpacked what emotionally immature parents look like, now it's time to shift our focus onto you. Healing is not just about understanding them. It's about protecting yourself. This section is about building boundaries and setting expectations so you stop overextending yourself and start feeling grounded. We'll break this down into 3 parts. The first is defining your limits. Boundaries are a personal guideline of what is okay and what is not. If your childhood involved guilt, emotional neglect, or blurred roles, you may have learned what healthy limits feel like. So you need to ask yourself, does this drain me? What feels intrusive or unsafe? Maybe it's constant calls from a parent who never checks in on you, or unannounced visitors when you are not expecting anyone. Limits can be as simple as, I'm not going to answer the phone after 8 p.m. That's a boundary. Or it could be as big as, I do not engage in guilt-tripping conversations. Setting boundaries is not selfish. This is essential. Research shows that having clear limits reduce stress and improve emotional well-being. Start with a small no and then build from there. 2 would be communicating your needs. Knowing our boundaries is one thing. That is awareness. But voicing it is a completely different circumstance. This is where things will be uncomfortable, but it is literally necessary. It's necessary. Emotionally immature parents won't always be able to recognize your boundaries or needs unless you say them clearly and calmly. And even then, some of us know that it can be an uphill battle. Dad, I need to finish my thought before you respond. It helps me feel heard. Mom, I'll call you after work once I've had a chance to decompress and relax for a little bit. These statements are not asking for permission. These statements are stating your boundaries. They might not like them, they might push back, but that is not your responsibility. You are not responsible for other people's feelings. What matters is that you show up consistently for yourself, and that means doing it even when it's hard. It's not about changing them. It's about changing how you interact with them. And lastly, 3, you have to prioritize your self-care. You have to take care of yourself. Self-care is not a luxury. It is survival. If you grew up constantly managing everyone else's emotions, your own needs likely came last. Self-care rewrites that. It could be therapy, journaling, walking, setting your phone on Do Not Disturb, or even venting to a friend. It is anything that protects your mental space. Celebrating small wins like holding a boundary or walking away from a toxic conversation, that builds resilience. You're not waiting for your parents to treat you differently. You're choosing to treat yourself with the care you deserve. Setting boundaries is not a one-time thing. It is a daily practice. Some days you will get it right and others you won't. Keep going. You are not just surviving old dynamics. You are creating new ones. Start small. One boundary, one voice, one act of self-love. That is how the shift begins. Now that we have explored the realities of emotional immaturity and the power of setting boundaries, now it's time to turn towards something a little softer. Connection and gratitude. This is not about ignoring the pain or pretending everything is fine. It is about finding light where we can and to choose healing over resentment. First, we need to think about how we can shift our perspective and look at the situation in a different way. It's easy to focus on what our parents got wrong, but zooming out allows us to look at the small things that they got right, the things that we might have overlooked. Making this shift in our lives does not erase the pain that was caused. It simply broadens the lens. Dr. Robert Emmons, a leading researcher in positive psychology, found that focusing on even the smallest positive things within our relationships can boost our resilience and reduce our stress. Just try this. Try thinking about one good thing that your parent has done for you within your life. And hold on to that, because no matter how small, that is a part of your story too. Next, we need to begin to start building the foundation for appreciation. Gratitude doesn't mean excusing the pain. Maybe your parent kept showing up, or maybe they gave you something foundational like stability, humor, or maybe even just effort. Expressing thanks, whether that be out loud in writing or quietly to yourself, that can release you from the grip of resentment. Dr. John Gottman's research shows that cultivating a culture of appreciation will strengthen relationships, and that includes strained relationships. Making these small acknowledgments can become anchors within your healing. Choose gratitude to choose peace and choose yourself. And I think going forward, one of the best things we can do is to try and create meaningful moments going forward. Connection does not always come naturally in families with emotional immaturity. Sometimes we have to lead with intention. Try finding common ground. Maybe your dad likes old westerns, or your mom can't stop talking about the garden. Start there. Connection does not have to be deep and emotional. It can be a shared walk, a movie, a learned family recipe. Studies in the Journal for Personal and Social Relationships show that shared experiences, even small ones, build bonds and connection. Not every moment will be perfect, but each one is a step towards something better. Try asking them a question that you've never asked them before. Ask them things like, what was your childhood like? Can you share a memory with me? Remember that one time we went up north camping? That was so amazing. These small acts build bridges, one brick at a time. We have walked a long road together in this episode, unpacking emotionally immature parents, learning how to set boundaries, and being able to find a way to have gratitude. Now we're landing on what might be the hardest part of this entire process, but it's also the most liberating step of all, and that is the power of acceptance and forgiveness. This isn't about tying a neat bow onto everything and making it look perfect. This is about setting yourself free. Here is the hard truth. We cannot change what has happened. No amount of wishing will change the shortfalls that happened within our lives. Holding on to that what keeps us stuck, replaying a movie that's already ended. Acceptance is not approval. It is saying, this is what was, and I can't undo that. It's like taking off that backpack full of rocks and finally letting it go. It's about choosing to not carry the weight of it anymore. Try and think about one thing in your life that you have been holding on to for a long time. Don't you think it's time to let it go? Isn't it time to finally choose yourself? Studies from the Journal of Behavioral Medicine show that acceptance lowers stress and boosts our emotional health. It is not easy, but it is a gift to yourself. It's a chance to stop fighting a battle that is already over. Forgiveness can be tricky. It sounds completely noble, but sometimes it feels like you're swallowing glass. It is so painful and uncomfortable. We have to forgive our parents, and I know that that can be so hard. But start with them. Resentment and anger are like chains being dragged behind us. You're just carrying it with you everywhere you go and in every relationship you have. Forgiving our parents does not mean saying what they did was okay. It means that you are done letting this control you. Maybe they couldn't love us the way we deserved, and that's on them. But we do not have to keep paying the price. And lastly, you need to forgive yourself for the guilt of feeling hurt, for the years of trying to fix things, and for not knowing better sooner. From the Stanford Forgiveness Project says that forgiveness is about reclaiming our inner peace. It is not a favor to them. It is a freedom to you. And finally, we need to try our best to move forward with compassion. Everyone messes up, including our parents, us, and the people we love. Compassion says that we're doing our best even when it's not enough. It's choosing to step into the future lighter and not bitter. Well, That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for staying with me through this entire thing, and I love you guys so much. Healing is not about fixing the past. It is about reclaiming your future, one step at a time. So take something from this episode and run with it, and start taking your power back now. If this episode has resonated with you, you might want to check out my episode on how to set boundaries and the power of saying no. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Don't forget to add me on Instagram and all my social medias. I love hearing from you guys. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss any amazing content that I make about well-being. Bye guys, I'll see you next time.